Hey everybody, today on the Tabletop Junction, we're going to talk about Wizards of the Coast releasing lots of stuff on the 2024 version of Dungeons & Dragons, Vecna Eve of Ruin, and hey, it's free RPG day, so let's dive in. Hey everybody, Jordan here, PH is silent. Welcome to my Jocular Junction. Today on the Tabletop Junction, we're going to just talk about a bunch of stuff, but most importantly, it is Free RPG Day. And if you don't know what Free RPG Day is, I should have brought up a new tab that has all of that information for you. So Free RPG Day is just to celebrate RPGs, get new people into the hobby, and it is completely free. So a lot of game stores are going to be running games. They're going to have a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of like one-page dungeons or sneak peeks or something like this, but like it's pretty good. Like you can get the Dragonbane. This is like an intro game that you could play without buying anything else. There's sometimes dice. Yeah, here's a Dispel dice. That's pretty cool. Those go pretty fast, and there's always a Dungeon Crawl Classics game, which is really fun. And I think there's a lot of 5e stuff too, so it's not just indie things. Like here's Tales of the Valiant 5e from Kobold Press. So if you have a local store, you should go call them or just go, because it's today. It's happening right now. And that is the other reason that this specific show is pre-recorded, because I am actively running a game right now. So I'm going to be running Beneath the Well of Brass. This is actually a DCC Day adventure from 2021, but I really like it. It's by Harley Stroh. He writes really good stuff. This is a level 0 funnel for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and it should be a lot of fun. So we'll see if anyone shows up at my table. That's the other part. And 9th Level Games they always have these level 1. It's like a indie anthology. That's what it says right there, Jordan. But it's an Indie Day anthology, and Free RPG Day Indie RPG Anthology. Super fun. Lots of like little quirky games. If you're into design like I am, it's kind of fun to read through them and be like, I never really thought of doing it like that. That's kind of cool. And then I actually backed a Kickstarter for their second one that is for mazes, but this is Return to the Dark Tower. So I'm going to actually try and pick this one up too, because I think it would be super cool. 1985 games got, lots of cool stuff. So I will definitely be tweeting or posting on YouTube here all of the fun stuff that I get, and we'll see what happens from there. But it's today. Go check it out. Free RPG Day, I'm running Well of Brass. Fantastic. So here is the controversy, I guess, before we just talk about other stuff. I looked casually for this, but I really didn't have the time to go through page by page. But apparently, Vecna Eve of Ruin, there is additional art in the DnDBeyond version compared to the print version. And I heard this on a couple other podcasts. They found it, and they actually have like sent out a question to be like, is that the new norm? Like, is what I buy instantly outdated because DnDBeyond will just be like magically updated in the background because it's a website? It's just data in a server that can be updated like that. And a book can't, so we usually get errata, and those are few and far between because they don't want to release like an errata every week. They want you to, play the game. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was like an art controversy within Wizards of the Coast, and they were like, hey, we're not going to publish with this until we absolutely know, because we don't want to have another Glory of the Giants debacle. I don't know, but it is weird, and I think a lot of people are blowing this up because it's Wizards of the Coast, and they like to be like, you did something, and they like to point fingers at them, and I think they should. It's just always one of those interesting things where if you're not that big, nobody seems to care. Like if Kobold Press updated something on Roll20 that didn't match, like maybe a fighter was in a different pose there than it was on their adventure. I don't think anyone would really care or blame them or point out or whatever else. But the fact that it's Wizards of the Coast, everyone's like, gotta know what's going on. So there's something there. Like, I guess, I don't know. If you care about it, you care about it. I was more concerned if the text had changed, because the text changes the way the game and the story functions. But I guess it's just additional art on DnDBeyond that's not in the book. Potato. There are a lot of Wizards of the Coast videos coming out about the 2024 campaign, but also they have sponsored a bunch of videos from YouTubers. So you can actually go, and again, I'll put all the links down below, but you can go here to some handbook previews, and they hired out, I'll make this a little bigger so you guys can see. They sponsored a video from all these people. So Dungeon Dudes, D4 Deep Dive, Pixel Circus, Mark Hulmes, of course, Dale Kingsmill, of course, Pointy Hat, woo, Dungeon Dad, woo, Pack Tactics, Good Time Society, and I didn't know this gentleman, but I looked at it, and he is big on TikTok. So I guess like the TikTok side, I don't tick the talks, so that's not my jam. But if you are interested in previews, they all have a set of previews. But I guess the big ones are that on the official Wizards of the Coast channel, they're Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford are actively talking about the changes to the 2024 D&D. And some takeaways is that I don't know, it just seems every class is getting 4 subclasses, some of them old, some of them new, most of them old, but like revised kind of a thing. It really feels like the same game, but with a lot of the changes that the community wanted. So I was really interested in the Eldritch Knight Fighter, and I watched the Paladin one, but I kind of like had it on in the background because I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Like, it's D&D, but I was watching the Eldritch Knight one, and it's like, yeah, we're going to allow Eldritch Knights to replace one of their multi-attacks with a cantrip, and we're going to allow them to do this, and we're going to allow them to do that. And the Paladin one was like, you're going to get spells at first level as a Paladin, compared to now you don't get spells until you're like level 2 or 3. And there's just like quality of life changes is really what it feels like. And I don't know if it's going to be a huge major overhaul of the game. I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but I think it'll sell books, and that's what they care about. So I'm curious if you're interested enough in it. I was going to hold off, but boy, those special edition covers look really cool. So I don't know now. I just don't know, but more information will come out as it's leaking out, not leaking, but, you know, coming out. Something interesting is that the Greyhawk is going to be, everyone's saying Greyhawk is going to be the new default campaign setting. And Greyhawk is not, I know there was Living Greyhawk. I don't know Greyhawk as well as the Realms, obviously, but like Greyhawk is very, it feels like it was made by a dungeon master who, I got to be careful about how I say this. Greyhawk feels the way that you should make a campaign setting. And what I mean by that is you start small, and then as your players explore, you branch out. So he had this little small area and Castle Greyhawk, and then it expanded out as needed. And so the world really like shaped with his players as Gary Gygax played in Greyhawk. And the short of this is that Wizards of the Coast owns Greyhawk, and so they're going to use it somehow. And I don't think that Greyhawk going forward is going to be the default campaign setting for Dungeons and Dragons. I think a lot of the major stories are still going to be in the Forgotten Realms, but the Realms is confusing. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of this. Do I have to have all of this? I'm overwhelmed as a dungeon master. It's the whole reason I started my other channel, was because I couldn't figure out how to run a game in Forgotten Realms because there's so much lore and it's overwhelming. So, brilliant choice, I think, to put Greyhawk in the Dungeon Master's Guide as a, here's how you build a campaign setting. Oh, you don't want to build a campaign setting? Here is our, like, modular Greyhawk campaign setting. You could take this and put it in your own setting. You could just play in Greyhawk because it's simple. There's not a ton there. I mean, there is because of Living Greyhawk and stuff, but like, I think it's going to be more approachable than the Forgotten Realms. So we'll see. And I don't think they're actively trying to make Greyhawk like, a movie, like we had the Forgotten Realms movie. The D&D movie was set in the Forgotten Realms, and I don't think they're trying to do anything else really with Greyhawk. So this just feels like a good place for it. I'm a little curious why it wasn't Mystara, but I also haven't read a lot of Mystara, so maybe there's something there that they would have to drastically change or whatever. But yeah, they own these weird little settings that are not there. I also learned something interesting. This isn't on my notes, but I want to talk about it because it popped into my head, is that when Wizards of the Coast held the contest for Eberron for 3.5 edition, there were actually 3 finalists, and Eberron beat the other 2, but they all had to sign NDAs, and so we don't know what was second and third place. Like, Eberron won, but Wizards took that intellectual property, and the people signed NDAs, and they're not allowed to talk about it. And that was really curious to me. Like, we'll never know what those worlds were, how fleshed out they were, what they, like, we'll never know. And they won't release anything because they still own it. And I've heard, or I was researching on Reddit, that Wizards have actually used some of it, but they don't tell us that they've used it. They don't say, oh, by the way, this is from creator so-and-so, like they do with Keith Baker. Like, they actively find Keith Baker to talk about Eberron, but these other creators, they don't. And it makes me wonder how many Magic the Gathering settings might be, I wonder how many Magic the Gathering settings are. Well, at least 2 might be influenced from this or other products. I'm not really sure, but I thought that was interesting. Like, I just want to know, what were the other ones? It's because they got to be good. Like, they have to be pretty good. List of videos on YouTube. Greyhawk is the new default campaign setting. Is 5th edition going to be backwards? That is a lot of, Wizards has said, it's going to be backwards. It's going to be backwards. I watched some of the videos, and they said that you could run a 5e 2014 Dungeons & Dragons 5e character in tandem with a 2024 Dungeons & Dragons 5e character. And a lot of people are like, I don't really know. But the key point he said there is, like, if you are playing this one, you have to follow those rules, and those, the level of progression has to be in that book. So I can't take, like, I'm going to build a rogue in 2014 5e and then take a feat or take other stuff from 2024 5e. Like, I don't think it'll work like that, because that is how it will break, which really feels that you're always going to be wanting to play 2024 D&D and maybe augmenting a class or something. I'm not really, or like a subclass, because there's lots of subclasses that I'm sure people want to still play, that they're like, well, I can't play them because they're not in 2024. Really what this feels is that they're trying to say is that the adventures are still viable. And I think that was always true, but I wish they would just say, rather than like, they're all compatible, I want them to just be like, you can play this one or this one, the adventures, you can pick whichever one you want. And that's how it should be, with like minimal changes that you have to make to kind of update it, or none at all, because it's all Dungeons & Dragons. I do think this will work, though, because of my good friend, Lex Mandrake. Shout out to Lex. Lex wrote a game called 5B, which is basically like Dungeons & Dragons 5 Basic. And he wanted to make like a basic expert, and I say expert, but like a basic version of Dungeons & Dragons, but like with a 5e twist on it. And so he actively played that, where people at the table had 5B characters and they had 5e characters, and the 2 of them played just fine because like everybody has the same stuff. And now my son is walking over here. You're supposed to be in bed, little boy. Ah, the joys of recording at night. So I think 5B will work because Lex played a game where 5B characters and 5e characters were alongside. And it's exactly what Wizards of the Coast said. 5B characters had to use the rules that are in 5B, and 5e characters had to use the rules in 5e. You can't mix and match because they are different systems. And I think this will be the same. Makes me wonder about multi-classing. I guess I can't multi-class from 2024 to 2014. That would just open up a lot of weird... Multi-classing already has like a lot of weird things going on. So a lot of ways to break the game. But I think it'll work. I think people might find things that break, but overall it's probably going to be fine. So the Kraken is coming. I don't know if you guys have heard this. I started looking around. Where is it? Super Geek Mike. He posted this and it just says the Kraken is coming. I'm not sure. I did a search on this. I tried to figure out where it was from. Everyone's being mysterious about it, so I don't actually know. But something's happening within the tabletop community, because not only him, but Ginny D, Pointy Hat, Corkboards and Curiosities, Dungeon Dudes, Legal Kimchi, and more. But those were the ones that I just kind of, as I was searching, found today. They all have posted this either on YouTube or on Twitter or some of their social medias and stuff. And I don't know what it means. But I'm very curious what this means, because it means something. I don't know. I'm wondering if it's a Kickstarter, but I don't think so. I'm wondering if it's another thing like Baron DeRop's Green Dragon Fest, where they're gonna, like, they hired all of these dungeon masters to come together for a private event and like run, I don't know, like D&D on a boat or D&D in a castle kind of a thing. And so is it something like that? And the fact that there's a boat, is this like a D&D cruise that I should be aware of? I'm curious though. So I don't know, keep an eye out on that. That's all I have about it. I don't know anything else. I wish there was news, but nothing there. Crowdfunding is also kind of a little light right now. I did get my book for It's Only Magic by Bonnie Cook Games, and I think that is the next thing I'm going to read. Also, I just found this on my desk, but I just read Closet of the Eye Wizard, and this is a fun little zine that is a bunch of magical hats that were in the Eye Wizard's closet. And so it's just like here's a bunch of magic items. They're system neutral, but they are like, they're to work for DCC, but really they're kind of like, you could do whatever you want with them. I'm going to make a video on this when I find some free time and put it on the Jocular Junction here. So watch out for that. But It's Only Magic came here. I think that's the next book I'm going to read. And then I was looking in, and Caverns of Thracia is going to be on backer kit very soon. Launching in 3 days. So 3 days and 12 hours as of airing this. So probably Monday or Tuesday, you should check this out. So Caverns of Thracia was Janelle J. Quay's, famous dungeon that kind of set the bar for how dungeons should be. So again, with this, I like the, original adventures reincarnated, not so much for, oh my gosh, I can finally play this because I found a copy, because you could always find the original, but like if you're interested in the history of it, like I have Temple of Elemental Evil. I don't think I'll ever run that, but it's a really fun thing to have on your shelf and to pull down and flip through and be like, this is the Temple of Elemental Evil. Like, how cool is that, you know? And so I don't know much about Caverns of Thracia other than that it is just elevated up there with the Dark Tower, which is also Janelle J. Quay, and a lot of those other ones. And since they've lost, Wizards of the Coast has not, I don't think they renewed the license for them to make any more of these. Doing historic third-party stuff from the Judges Guild, which is the Dark Tower and Caverns of Thracia, is kind of the direction they need to go in. Now, the cool thing about this is they get to do a 5e version and a Dungeon Crawl Classics version, where they were not allowed to do a DCC version of the original TSR products. Should you check this out? 100%. I think you should. I love Goodman Games, but I feel like they are getting a little too, let's make all the stuff to get more backers and more people. And so it's not just like, you're not just backing a book now. It's like this event, but that event is happening like 3 or 4 times a year is what it feels like. And it's a lot. So on top of this, you get the mega dungeon, There's going to be 250 plus encounter areas, basically more stuff than you could ever play. But the Hell Pits of Nightfang, these are some of the adventures that they're going to have if they get them. Oh, I thought it was on this page. So it's not on this page, but somebody else on Reddit, I think, was posting like there's like a dozen different books and sub scenarios and things that you can get. And yeah, you can just get the book. And maybe this is the direction that crowdfunding is going in, is that you have to at least try to offer all of this stuff and stretch goals and things like that, because it's kind of this like game. And I don't know how many people go to something where they know that Goodman Games, DCC, this will fund, and they know that they're going to like the product. Do they really need to have all of these stretch goals for me to go to my friend and be like, I need you to back this so I can get an extra adventure or an extra sticker? Like, it's kind of cool to know, but I'm like, you should just make those and then release them later, and I'll buy it for $5 if it's good or interesting, or $10 or whatever else. So it just feels odd, but at the same time, I guess, at least it shows that they're building stuff. You know, the Dying Earth campaign, they had all of those adventures with that campaign, and I was really excited for that. But that was actually back when I felt like Goodman Games was doing like, this is an event kind of a Kickstarter crowdfunding, and it was like a big Dying Earth event. Nowadays, with the level that they're releasing Kickstarters, and Monte Cook Games is doing the same thing, I'm like, you're doing another Kickstarter before I even have what you promised fulfilled to me. But maybe that's the business model now. I don't know. I don't know. But regardless, this looks cool, and I am 85% sure I'll back it. We'll see. We'll see when it actually pops up on Monday. Now we're going to move into just talking about some design and writing. This is always I feel like I talk too fast when I'm doing this solo. But I guess I'm getting the news across easier. But I like the communication and answering questions with people from the audience when I'm not here, or when I'm actually live. So as far as designing and writing, Modular G6, it's coming together. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to be like a Kickstarter, or if this is going to be, I think originally I'm just going to release the stuff on itch.io for free, like without art, so that we can, you know, people can see, and if they like it, and I don't know, things like that. I'm not, basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not like thinking, oh, this is going to make me so much money. What I wanted to do is I really love mechanics, and I like tinkering and stuff. And so it was kind of this inevitable thing to create my own RPG, which a lot of people do. Or they make like weird hybrid systems, you know, it's like, well, I really like this from this one, and I want to kind of merge it. And it's so, anyway. So for designing and writing, I'm getting into a playtest phase. And I tried playtesting a long time ago, and it was weird because I got all my friends together and we were playing, and it was painfully obvious that the game was not ready for playtesting. Like, I had not thought out many things. And so not understanding like the very core kind of like, oh, like what is it I want to try to do with this game? Like, what is the feel? What is a lot of the other things? Like, I don't know, just the base of it wasn't really foundational. And so when we were playing, it just became kind of awkward and painfully obvious. And I felt dumb for doing that, even though it's my friends and they don't care. They just like wanted to hang out with me. So I've been hesitant about doing playtesting. I almost feel like if I could teach somebody else to play the game and have them run it and just give me feedback, that might be less scary and painful than me running a game again. But I have to run my own game. Like, I have to. So it's kind of one of those, I'm like, you know, this doesn't feel good, but I have to remind myself that it's probably just like inner, you know, demon loud thoughts, and it's not actually like, my friends do like me regardless if I write a good game or not, and they will provide honest feedback. And even if that feedback is not joyous and praiseful, they are still my friends and they still like me, and I have to remind myself of that. So I've been putting it off, but I actually contacted quite a few people, and they're very interested in playing. And so I'm gonna run, I don't know, something. I got to come up with like a fun little mini dungeon for us to just play around with combat and mechanics and social things and stuff like that. And then run that over and over and over and over with lots of other people and refine the system and fix it. But I have to also remind myself that this is fun. I'm not doing this to like if this was just awful work and I hated every second of it, I wouldn't keep working on this, because I actively like writing this thing, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think it'll be really cool to hold something in my hand and be like, I made this, you know? So, my home games. So I did end up playing Forbidden Lands last Sunday. We play every other week. And this Thursday, Between Two Cairns released a video or a podcast episode where they kind of just talked about the things that were on their mind. And Brad had just finished up a really long Forbidden Lands game, and I was really curious. And my Forbidden Lands players and friends were just like, oh my gosh, have you listened to this yet? And we're like, oh no. And so we all kind of listened to it, and then we're talking like, yeah, I feel like I understand what Brad is saying about his complaints with the system, but at the same time really enjoying it. And I think my complaints are the exact same things, where Forbidden Lands is very, like, you roll too many dice and the dice mean different things, but they're all D6s. And so that's really frustrating to me. And again, my brain of like tinkering is almost like, I wish that I could make the base die, like my base innate die, a D6, and then my weapon die a D4, and if I got above a 4 or something, then I would do a hit. But I think you would have to rewrite that whole system a lot, because it really wants you to land on a 6. Like a 6 is a success, and you can get higher, but only with like crazy artifact weapons. But yeah, you roll the dice, and then yeah, you can check and you can say, I want to push because I didn't get a good enough result, or I didn't get a good result at all. But I can't push if it's this, and if I do push on these dice, they hurt me, but these ones don't matter. And on the first round, there's lots of like little caveat rules like that are really annoying. And I remember I was talking to Lex again, and he was saying that they were playing the Alien RPG, which uses the same system, and that he loved it. He was like, that was the coolest thing. But the way Brad was talking in this episode, and I'll put links down below again, the way Brad was talking in this episode is like the game didn't become fun until they literally had nothing, and they were scavenging for food and looking for stuff in the wilderness. And then every roll was just like, are you going to live? Like, how are you going to save this situation? So if you treat the game as like punishing, it actually might work for you better. And right now we haven't gotten into like super punishing, and a lot of us were like, I think I just want to like fight something, but the game is like, you don't really want to fight stuff. And so I don't know, it was really interesting. And I wonder how my dungeon master is going to handle taking that, and then if he'll change anything or incorporate it. And we'll see how much longer we play. I think not that we dislike Forbidden Lands, but we're all eager to play other games, because we just have lots of games we want to play. So, Planegea is picking back up on June 30th, which is 8 days away, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been casually, because I have felt like I had so much time, so I haven't prepped, but I want to really refine those monster rules in the Beast Menagerie. It's a roll for combat book. I forgot the name of it, but it's a monster book, but it actually has here's how you can use monster parts to upgrade weapons and stuff, kind of like a Monster Hunter, the video game franchise kind of thing. And so I'm curious about that, and I documented all of the rolls that my players did when they were harvesting like parts and stuff, and I'm gonna try and create tables. It's a lot of work. I just haven't really got around to it yet. So maybe this Sunday or Monday or something, I'll think about it and do that. But that is my goal for that. And then the overall story I still have is they're in the Venom Abyss and they're exploring it. And man, I just really love that Planegea setting. Like, I think it's really it re-excited 5e for me, because I was kind of burnt out on 5e, and then I thought Spelljammer was the thing that was going to reignite my love of it, because I was like, oh, we can like travel around on ships. This is going to be so cool. But then the 5e version of it didn't gel with me as much as I wanted it to. And here we are. So the next thing is, I always think about new games I want to run. And I want to run Old School Essentials, but specifically I have a book called Sea of Sands that I need to review on this channel. And then I have another supplement called the Undying Sands, where it's like hexagon tiles. I actually think I did a video on it a long time ago. It's got to be on the channel somewhere. If it is, I'll put it down below. But you take hexagons that are desert shapes and you kind of link them back and forth. And then your party explores and they find different things. And it just was cool. And I want to run like an Old School Essentials game using that, because I think it would be a lot of fun. So that's kind of what's in my thought process for games lately. But Forbidden Lands, Planegea, running Beneath the Well of Brass tomorrow, which is not a Dungeon Crawl Classics or not a Dying Earth module, but just a regular Dungeon Crawl Classics module, because I thought I should just stick with the bare bones for brand new players. And we'll see. It's free RPG day, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and play some games. Thank you so much for watching. If you are this far into the video, if you want to support the channel, become a YouTube member down below. You can become a YouTube member. That would be awesome. I would super be thankful for that. I also have a Patreon where you can go and do Patreon things. I'll post a lot of my like early writings and stuff there. And if not, just subscribe, tell your friends about this. It's available as a podcast, and it's also here on YouTube. And you can catch us live Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific, where I just ramble about my love of RPGs. So if you know anything about The Kraken is Coming, or if you got a good haul for Free RPG Day, let me know in the comments below. And until then, I will see you guys all next week. So take care.